so here we are, and you can see the little divot right there, and there's one on the other side too, and that is where our magnets are going to go. So here are the magnets that came with the helmet. There's 4 of them, so there's 2 on each side, one for the helmet side, one for the clamshell side, and this is going to line up with that hole right there. Alright, so basically what we're going to do now is we're going to take our drill bit here, and I got the small bit on here, and you see the big bit, and we're going to walk our way up to the size of hole that we need to hold those magnets. So we'll just start small, drill a hole here on each side. Those divots are nice that come with the helmet, so you can put your drill bit right in there and just start walking it up. So I'll just drill each one of those out, and we'll change the bits as we go and put the next size in. You see it's got to be pretty big there. It's going to be quite a bit bigger. I think it's like goes up to 1/4 of an inch. You can see I put my magnets on the end of my drill bit here to see if that's the size I need. That's about the same diameter as the bit, so we got to work our way up to this big 1/4 inch drill bit, and we're just going to walk our way up slowly. So we'll put a next size up. I don't want to make a huge jump. I want those holes to stay centered because they have to line up with both the front and the back part of the helmet. So you can see on the back part, there they are. They've got the same divots on there that line up, so when you put the pieces together, that the magnets will hold it on. So we've just got to go through and walk them up and keep them centered so that they made up when we're done with the magnets, and it holds it together. So we'll just go ahead here and make this hole just a little bit bigger. Take a little bit more off of this one, go nice and slow, making sure that it stays centered and that we don't blow out the hole and have to repair that. So we'll just go ahead and just slowly walk this stuff up, get our shavings out of the way, and just keep going. So to the other side now, and walk that up with the drill bit, and then of course we're going to have to change to an even bigger bit once we get this one through, and we'll just keep making the hole bigger and bigger. Get the shavings out of the way so we can see our work, clean up our mess, clean as you go, right? And we'll go ahead, check out those holes, and put another drill bit in here, and we'll just keep going until we get them big enough. This might actually be the final size here, it looks like. So we'll walk it up to that one. Drill those up, and the other one too. We'll just take a little bit of material out of it, make it a little bit bigger. There we go. See here. Oh, dang, we are going one more bigger. See that? And I thought those looked pretty big already. Walk this up one more size here. There we go. And the other side. Walk that side up too. Once you get them to this, it doesn't take much to make them bigger. The plastic is really thin, and you're just making them a fraction of an inch bigger each time. So let's get all this cleaned up again and see if the magnets fit. Alright, so we'll get a magnet out and see if it fits. And it doesn't quite look like it fits in there. So instead of going the next size drill bit up, I think we're just going to file this because I don't want to make the hole too big. So let me grab some files here, and we'll get a round file out of here, and we'll just slowly make our hole a little bit bigger, and we'll just keep doing this process until the magnet fits. I'm going to take it more out of the thicker side so that I don't make it too thin on the weaker side. The plastic is thicker farther off to the outside of the helmet than to the inside, so we'll just keep fitting this magnet in here until we get a snug fit, and we'll just keep going on with our file. So it doesn't matter if we make it a little bit too big. I don't want it that big. We are going to fill it with that epoxy that was just there, and so I do want the hole to be tight enough to hold the magnet in place while we put the epoxy around it to hold it in there permanently. So we'll just slowly get this to go until we get it. Just slowly keep taking a little bit of material off until we get it to fit really snug there and get it in there. And it looks like we just made it. So we'll go ahead, and we got a nice friction fit there. It's nice and smooth. Alright, so you'll see here that we got the magnet smooth with the outside of the plastic, and you can see it inside the helmet there. So we got this thin little piece of plastic right here that the magnet sticks through. So what we're going to do here, now that we got it smooth to the front, is that in the back there we are going to take and fill this area in right there. So I've got this epoxy right here, and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and fill that in behind the magnet so that that holds it in, since it's really just being held in by that little piece of plastic right there. And we want to keep it smooth, and we don't want it to move. So we'll just go ahead and go and get the other magnet in here on the other side, and then we'll do the epoxy at the same time for both sides. So let's just start doing our same friction fit here again. Alright guys, so you can see the piece of black duct tape down there. I just made a little dam so the epoxy will stay in place by the magnet to hold it there. Mixed up some epoxy here, and now we will just fill it in and pour it over that magnet so that it traps it in, and the epoxy will harden up hard as a rock and keep that magnet in there, and the duct tape will keep it in place, and we'll just pour it in and let it dry. And then when it all cures up, just go ahead and repeat this process for the other magnet on the other side. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Just make sure that you keep the helmet level so that while the epoxy is in its liquid state, it'll pretty much self-level itself. If you just spread it out and let it in there, use some stuff to prop up the helmet so it stays where you want it while the epoxy hardens, and just let that epoxy harden up and dry, and you're good to go, just like that. Alright, so now we're at the clamshell back, and you can see it has the little pins on it too, the little indents that show you where it match up with the front half. So we're just going to go ahead and drill those up, just like we did on the front side. So we'll just walk these holes up until they're big enough. As you can see there in the background, the epoxy is dried on the main part of the helmet, and we're able to sit that up upright again. And actually the pour, when this helmet was cast, because it's a poured plastic, it's not 3D printed, one side of this clamshell, the side we're drilling now, is actually thicker than the other side. So as we drill into this, you'll see here later on, this doesn't actually protrude out. This magnet stays all the way inside the plastic. It is so thick on that side. So that's an advantage to this one. So as we upsize this hole, you don't really see the back side of the magnet, and you'll see that more later on here. But right now we're just going to focus on getting both of these holes drilled up and getting the magnets in, and you'll see what I'm talking about a little bit later on. So right now, see, I'm just measuring how deep my magnet is because it's not going to protrude out like the way it did in the front of the helmet. So I don't want to drill this hole too deep and have it go all the way through my helmet. So I'm trying to just eyeball how deep I need to go to make it just big enough for the magnet to slide in there and have a good friction fit for it. So we'll just slowly make this hole bigger like we did before until we get the magnet to fit in it. And then if we get a good friction fit on it, then we won't have to worry too much about glue on this side, although I will show you a little bit later, it does puncture through a little bit on the plastic, and I do add just a little bit of glue, but there's really not that much glue on the side. It is really just in there really tight. After we file this out, I'll slow the video back down and you'll be able to see that a little bit more. I'll go through that. Alright, so here we are. We got the hole at the right size now. It looks like the magnet is going to slide right in there. Perfect. Nice and tight and flush with the plastic. So we'll go ahead and make sure that that's flush, and I think I'm going to put it on the helmet right here, even though the holes should line up simply because I drilled them where the divots were in the plastic, just to make sure that they line up and touch. Make sure that they're touching each other, get a good connection and that they're flush with the outside of the plastic. If you look close on this magnet, you'll see a little black dot on it that I drew on there with a Sharpie, and that's just so I remember the polarity of the magnet, so I don't have negative to negative and have the magnets repel each other. You want to make sure that you mark it because the magnets are just solid silver. And then you'll see here the hole that the drill bit made when it came through. So this whole magnet isn't protruding out like on the front side of the helmet. It's just a little hole right there. You can barely see it, and you can see the back of the magnet just a little bit. I'll probably just fill that with some sort of glue later, but epoxy is probably not going to fit in there. So now let's just go ahead and flip this around, and we will just start drilling the hole on the other side. Start with the small drill bit. We'll put that back in there, and we'll just slowly drill up this hole and put the magnet in the other side now. Alright, so we'll fit the magnet in here, and if you'll notice, I tried filing it out as best I could, but I realized I was going to have to make the hole bigger than I could with a file, so I had to use the last drill bit to make it a little bit bigger, and it cracked the plastic, and I knew it would, simply like I was saying before with the pores in the plastic. So when this happens to you, and you get this little chunk out of the top of the plastic here, and you can see the magnet, it's still tight enough to hold the magnet in place. So we'll just fill the back here with epoxy like we did on the front side of the helmet. We'll just make sure that it's flush and smooth with the helmet, and simply because the pour wasn't even, we didn't get as much plastic on this side, so we will just add plastic. We'll just mix up some epoxy here and use the little duct tape dam system that we used on the front side of the helmet to keep the epoxy from running down. And we will mix up the epoxy and we will fill it in, and then we will basically generate our own plastic on the back to hold the magnet in. And with this one, it's going to be a little bit different. You'll see we're going to have to bring the epoxy up over the top of the magnet so that it's not exposed. Unlike on the ones on the front side of the helmet, we just had to bury it because the plastic was high enough. We broke the plastic out and the magnet is actually a little bit higher than the plastic, so we will have to make sure that's completely covered so that it holds really good and won't fall out of there. Alright, so that's the end of this video, so be sure to check out some of the other videos, hit the subscribe button. You'll see we filled that all the way up with the epoxy with the duct tape dam that we made. Go ahead and check out the DC-17 blasters. I got a couple car repair videos and more to come on this helmet build as well. So stay tuned guys, and catch you next time. Thanks a lot.